Hey kids, it's your mom. You know that I love you. And that's why I'm out here talking to my tablet, talking to you standing in the rain. It's raining. Talking to you about depression. Life is rough. I'm going off script here, but I don't have a script to speak of. Life is rough. Life is difficult. And one of the most difficult things that life hands you is depression, which is, generally speaking, a chemical imbalance in your brain, wherein you are left with a feeling of misery when you should be able to see joy. Now, most bouts of depression, they don't last very long. They can last anywhere from a couple of days to months. Clinical depression can. It's fairly typical. If you have persistent depressive disorder, however, it can last years to an entire lifetime. And that's the type that I have. Plus, as an added bonus, if you do have persistent depressive disorder, occasionally you may find yourself dipping into clinical depression. So, it's going to make things difficult. I want you to be able to see my eyes while I'm talking to you, even if I don't look directly at you. There, look directly at you. How's that? Depression is a difficult subject. When you're depressed, the more depressed you are, the more difficult it is to see the real truth about whether or not people care about you, whether or not life is worthwhile, whether or not you are loved, and whether or not your existence in the world of the people that love you, is worthwhile. And I say this because I've been through it. This is a story. It's a true story. So I'm going to ask you, please, not to troll me. Shortly after your dad and I were married, this be about, 18 years ago, give or take? I was working for McDonald's. And they called me in on a Sunday because they had 2 buses come in. And all of the passengers came into McDonald's. And so they had a big push. And some of the people that they usually called in to help the push were sick. And ordinarily I didn't work on a Sunday. So they asked me to come in for a specific shift, 3 hours. So I went to church briefly, and then in my uniform, and then right from church I went directly to work. And just to set the scene, I don't know if you've ever been to a McDonald's before. Some of you have. A lot of you have. Some of you haven't. And there are 3 cash registers. And the there's right behind the first cash register, there's a bun warmer or a sandwich warmer, like a big bin, and they throw the completed sandwiches in that. That's the way our McDonald's worked. This was during the I'm Loving It campaign. Which, when you're watching this video, I have no idea how long ago it was. So, anyway. I am bisexual, but I'm also married, and I'm fiercely loyal. I think the term my eldest uses is demi-romantic. So, can't really see myself getting romantic with anyone else. And I don't see the point in having a sexual relationship with anyone outside of my current relationship. I don't see myself falling in love with anyone else. But that's not what I came here to talk to you about. I didn't come here to talk to you about my sexual preference. And I am going to briefly mention my religion, but I didn't come here to talk about that either. Suffice it to say, there was a young lady that I was interested in, that I was sexually aroused by, attracted by. And she was there, and they put me on the cash register that was right in front of the sandwich warmer. And there was a big knot of people there putting together orders. And in 3 hours, every time this person that I'm talking about, who was running orders for the other cash register that it was down at the other end, would pass me, her front would brush my back, and I would feel briefly aroused, and then I would feel depressed because I felt like I was being disloyal. And so by the end of 3 hours, I was so depressed I was barely thinking straight. And why I say this is because depression can really narrow your vision. It can make it so that you can't see anything that's the truth. Or very little. So what happened was that I knew that they wouldn't let me go home unless I restocked the line. It's after the push was over. And it was over. Everybody was fed, and there was nobody else asking for food. I knew they wouldn't let me leave until I restocked the line. So I went to restock the line. And the storage area was really cool if you weren't depressed. Basically what it was a series of shelves all set up so that if you needed a box knife, you could get one without having to look for one. They were attached to the shelves with cable, metal cable. So I took one of those. So I took a sleeve of cups and a package of napkins, and I had to open up a sleeve of cup lids. And as I took the knife and sliced open the box of cup lids, I looked at the knife and then at my wrist, and the thought flashed through my head, it didn't even hurt. And this is where I get to show you my scar. No, I didn't actually attempt to take my life, but you see that? That little fingernail-shaped scar there? I worked for Arby's once. You know how with a box knife you're supposed to be careful and cut away from yourself and not towards yourself? Well, I was cutting the tabs off of a box of coffee, and I cut towards myself, and the knife slipped and landed in my forearm. So, suffice to say, I took damage and 2 stitches. And it didn't hurt at all. And so now, I was thinking about that situation, and my first thought was, I'm going to kill myself, in surprise, because it never entered my mind to kill myself until that minute. And I had something of an internal struggle because my emotional self was not thinking clearly. My intellectual self was thinking very clearly. And so I remembered things that they said in health class that you should think if you were considering depression. I mean, if you were considering depression, if you were considering suicide. So the first thing I thought was, well, what about all the people who care about me? And the first thought that came back was, oh, well, they'll be better off without me in the world. And that included my new husband, who I should mention later was absolutely terrified that I had come so close to taking my own life. So as I was standing there thinking, this thought came into my head. And it came basically from my religion. What we believe is that after you die, you go one of two places. You either go to paradise or spirit prison. And I knew if I took my own life, I would go to spirit prison. And I knew that the depression would follow me to spirit prison. And I knew that if I went to spirit prison and the depression followed me, there would be no suicide to take me out of it. There would be no escape. And that was what saved me. Now, like I said, I'm not here to talk about my religion. I'm here to talk about depression and suicide. And I'm here to ask you, if you're feeling depressed, please seek help from a suicide prevention hotline. Talk to somebody. I know, if you're feeling depressed, it feels like an imposition to talk to somebody, because then you're sharing their pain. You're sharing your pain with them, and they don't need that, and you're going to make them feel worse. But I have proof that that's a lie, because I went online yesterday to talk about this very subject into a live broadcast. I can't share it with you because I didn't record it. But upwards of 12 people that I care about came into the broadcast and told me that they love me. And I expected fully to talk to dead air. I expected to talk to dead air. And for nobody to pop up and say they cared. So I'm telling you here and now, if you are depressed and thinking about killing yourself, don't. Please don't. There are so many people that care about you. And even if there aren't, there is the potential for people caring about you. And if you kill yourself, it'll just make things worse. I'm not going to use my own religion to save you. I don't know what you believe. Okay? But depression will lie to you. It will close your vision. It will encapsulate you in a kind of emotional tunnel vision that makes it difficult for you to see the truth. Get help. Take whatever medicines they ask you to take. If they make you feel worse, tell your doctor, journal it, do whatever you have to do, but please, stay alive. Stay alive for your mom. I'll talk to you again soon.